I asked the Commissioner of Public Works and Parks to join me tonight, along, which is Tom Owens, many of you know Tom, and also Richard Bastides, who's our Deputy Commissioner of Public Safety. And I know that over the years there have been public safety issues, so I thought it would be helpful if Rich was here also. So any concerns, any issues, we're here to listen. But let me go through some of the things that have been happening in Brentwood. Certainly the Department of Public Works has been very busy and active. And again, it's like been a couple of years because of COVID, so I feel like it's been forever. But we did a major paving job along Washington Avenue, and I have to thank Assemblyman Phil Ramos, who got us some grant funding to help offset the cost of that project, because it was huge, from the LIE, South Service Road, all the way up to Suffolk Avenue, and then the intent was to continue down Brentwood Road. And we have done a lot of that paving there. There are some sections further south that still have to be done, but there are some construction projects being worked on, and we won't complete that paving until the construction is done, because then it's counterproductive. And you know, we get to hear that all the time. They paved my road, and then National Grid came and dug it up, and don't you guys talk to one another? Well, we do. But sometimes there are emergencies, and that is really unfortunate, but there is a program in place that before we go do anything like that, we do check with the utilities to make sure they don't have something planned, so that we don't inadvertently pave and then they have to rip it up. So sometimes you may have been told that a certain street is going to be paved in a particular season, and it may have to be put off for that very reason. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. Some of the areas that we're going to be focusing on, you know, we've done a lot around this area, around the library and everything, and I have to commend the library. The parking lot looks beautiful. I know that you guys did some paving there. But we're going to be paving Grand Boulevard, Broadway Avenue, Spur Drive North from Brentwood Road to Comac Road, Brentwood Road from First Avenue to Comac Road, and Candlewood Road from 5th Avenue to Spur Drive North. So it is pretty aggressive. The paving budget for the town of Islip has been aggressive. We've tried to increase it over the past number of years. With everything that's going on or has gone on with COVID, supply chain issues, the war in Ukraine, what it's causing for fuel and everything else, we have gotten notification from vendors that the prices, you know, are going to go up. So we're trying to get as much done as we possibly can get done. Drainage is an issue too, and we have been trying to address some of the drainage issue, installing drainage where needed, and certainly as we're doing any road repairs, if there are drainage issues at that point, that's a great time for us to address it in conjunction with what we might be doing. But some of the targeted drainage that we have on the books coming up is Yarnell, 37 Yarnell, 97 Grant, and the corner of Candlewood Road and Brentwood Road. That is a problem with flooding there and drainage. So again, as I said, as we do paving, we will address any of the drainage issues along the roads that we're paving. The Brentwood Railroad Station, we repaired the PVC fence in front of the train station that runs parallel to Suffolk Avenue. Let's see. And as far as traffic safety, we've been trying to address some of the traffic safety mitigating issues, but we're also installing a traffic signal at the corner of 3rd Street and 3rd Avenue. So I think that'll help with that area in there and the schools and the traffic to and from the schools. The planning department has been very busy. During COVID, we were open every single day in the town of Islip. Even when the governor mandated the 50% your workforce has to work from home. That was tough for us. You know, we rotated people in and out. It was difficult for Tom and his crew. I mean, it's kind of hard to pave potholes from home. But some of the work, you know, could be done remotely, but for the most part, you really needed to be there. In the planning department, we immediately put together a program. We got a lockbox so that people that had plans could bring them in And what we did was say, you know, if you want, call us, we'll go get it, look at it real quick while you're still here. So if it has anything that's missing, you're not waiting for us to call you back, you know, in a week or two to let you know. So that seemed to work real well. We immediately got involved with the issue of outdoor dining permits for all of our restaurants. Restaurants were really, really struggling. Some of them still are. There was an article in the paper today that so many of them feel that they are so much in need of that funding that was put in place by the federal government, but unfortunately seems to be running out. But those outdoor dining permits, we turned them around in like a day, and we did not charge for the permits, and we've extended that program through January of next year. So this way the restaurants, because we don't know what's going to happen. Fingers crossed, it looks like the worst is behind us, but we don't know. I was at another chamber earlier, and there were representatives from a hospital there who said that they're seeing a little bit of a spike. So, you know, we just have to be on guard. I think, me personally, the way I look at it, I don't think COVID's ever going to go away. You know, the flu doesn't go away. You know, we have flu season every year. I think we're going to have COVID, and it's something we're going to just have to learn to deal with. I don't think we can, you know, just stop our lives and close down businesses and close down schools. I think we're going to have to find a way to exist, you know, with COVID going forward. So God willing, we are going to be able to get through it. We've had remote Zoom meetings, which, you know, work, but they don't. You know, there's nothing like being in a room with people. I mean, I know there were Zoom meetings for so many of the chambers, but it's not the same as, you know, being in a room with people. So our town board meeting on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, will be a live meeting, and fingers crossed there isn't a spike, you know, so we just have to keep watching it. Some of the things that the planning department are reviewing right now and have been working on, substation for Brentwood Fire at Martinstein. They're demolishing the existing dwelling and replacing it with a new fire substation. This is to St. Joseph. I saw a gentleman who does a community outreach this morning. They're putting new perimeter fencing around the property there, and they're converting the rectory to offices and also making it ADA compliant. Anyone that's been to anything at the Sisters of St. Joseph, you know there's steps and everything around it. It is not really very ADA accessible. The Canaan French Church has proposed a 2-story addition with the basement to legalize and expand the church for a new sanctuary and a choir loft. That's at 159 3rd Avenue. They still need ZBA approval, so you know, we're helping them through that whole planning process. And also the Family Service League on Crooked Hill Road, they had come to the town a number of months ago to have some code restrictions lifted, and we used that opportunity to have them do some traffic mitigation improvements with people in and out of there. Crooked Hill's a really busy road. We pushed to have them put sidewalks in front so that when people are, you know, walking there, they're not out in the road, because the traffic on Crooked Hill moves pretty quickly. Also, they're going to have to create ADA access, etc., and do striping and repair some of the asphalt. Liberty Plating, does anybody remember Liberty Plating and where that is? I mean, I remember that from when I was the legislator representing Brentwood. And then I leave the legislature and I go to the treasurer's office, and there's Liberty Plating, you know, in tax arrears, and nothing is happening, and this, you know, piece of property that isn't generating any taxes, but, you know, needed remediation. It got put into a program that we started at the county at the time to be able to clean the property and get it back on the tax rolls. And that's finally happening. I can't believe it. I've gone like full cycle with that. But the application is in right now for 2 new buildings that are going to be built on that site. Knoll Farm, that was approved last year. They are going to be maintaining a portion of the horse farm, but putting in 180 residential units and also a fast food restaurant. but covenants were put in place restricting that the sanitary waste has to be connected to an off-site municipal sewage treatment plant. So they're going to have to connect to Southwest Sewer. So they cannot put in any on-site sewer treatment systems to mitigate any negative impacts to the community. So they are going to have to, you know, do what you need to do to hook up to the sewer system. Exciting time for Brentwood in parks. You know, a number of years ago we were able to redo Noble Street, but the big, wonderful, beautiful park that those that are in Brentwood can proudly call home is Roberto Clemente, or Timberline as a lot of people still like to call it. That was a huge transformation. When I got to the town, and I'm going to put it out there, it was terrible what happened at that park. When I got here, the debris that had been dumped there, 40,000 tons of debris was dumped at Roberto Clemente Park. To this day, I don't understand how it happened that people didn't call and say, there's stuff being dumped here, what the heck's going on, you know? But lo and behold, 40,000 tons were there. And, you know, neighbors call and complain if there's a pothole or the curb isn't straight or whatever, yet 40,000 tons of debris was dumped in the park. So when I got to the town in March of 2015, that was like #1 on the radar. We've got to fix this. We have to fix this. The swimming pool was closed. It had been closed for years, needed to be repaired. They didn't want to spend the money to repair it. I don't know what went on, but in any event, it was an enormous challenge. But I felt so strongly, and maybe because I'm partial to Brentwood, I represented Brentwood when I was in the Chamber of Commerce, in the legislature. So Brentwood has always been something special to me. So we commenced to do the RFP, and it's not easy when you're working in municipal government. Everything has to be done a certain way. We had to bid the job, and we sent it out there, and I'm like, oh, please, dear God, make sure we get enough bids, because if only one company had bid, we would have had to go back out and bid it again, and that would have been more months passing. Fortunately, we had a number of bidders, a number of them successful bidders, qualified bidders, but again, we wanted to do this right. And, you know, Tom Owens and his team, they went out there. The guy that was the successful bidder that came in with the lowest price, you know, he said, I've got the equipment to do it and I'm going to do this job. We wanted to make sure he did it, because I said the last thing we want is we pick a bidder, he starts doing the job, and then 3 months down the road he goes, I can't do this, my crew had to go someplace else, I don't have the equipment. So they actually went out and inspected everything to make sure that what he was telling us was true, that he really, really could do this job. And they knew what they were doing, thank God. It got done on time, and it took a long time. And even the whole process, so much attention was paid to detail to try to minimize any negative impact on the community. Think about it. I can't tell you how many trucks, but a lot of trucks for a lot of months went in and out of the park to take the debris out of there and actually clean out everything that had to be cleaned out. And those trucks that came in the morning, they were staged behind Home Depot at 5 o'clock in the morning. And they came in early so that they weren't, you know, idling on you know, a residential block, you know, in the neighborhood. So we really had minimal, if any, complaints about the process when it was happening, thank goodness. So it gets all cleaned out. Now we have to wait for the DEC to come in and certify it that it's clean, and that we pledge that it's going to be a passive use. We're not going to go digging down into the dirt if, God forbid, there's anything there, but it's safe and you know, clean, and everything is good. Then the next challenge is get the pool done. So we got a commitment from everyone on the town board to spend the millions of dollars that it was going to take to do the pool. And I said, we're not skimping, we're doing the pool right. And show of hands, who's been to the park since we've done the pool. Only 2, 3 people? 4, 5, shame on you, you have to go. It is magnificent. It's like being at a country club. There are lounge chairs. We have these gorgeous sails for shade. The pool is an Olympic-sized swimming pool. And when we opened the pool, the fire department, thank you Manny and your sisters and brothers at the fire department, they came down, we had a huge barbecue, they did hot dogs, they were grilling hot dogs for hours, they ran out and had to get more hot dogs. It was a wonderful, wonderful grand reopening of the park and the pool. And then we had meetings about other things that people wanted to see there. Mary Reed was at the meeting. We had a meeting in my conference room, and I'll never forget, her grandson was with her. And he wanted a spray park, you know, and everybody talked about a spray park. And, you know, there are 2 kinds of spray facilities. You can have a spray park, or you can have a spray pad. The spray park has, you know, a well that holds the water, and once water collects, it means it's a lot more expensive to maintain. You have to have a lifeguard. You have to have lifeguards when you have a spray park. If you have a spray pad and then it's flat concrete and you just have sprinklers and they're running, it's a lot easier. It's a lot cheaper to maintain. But we were committed to doing it right. And besides, Mary's grandson wanted a spray park. But it is beautiful. And we were supposed to open it the year before last, COVID, catastrophe. We were not able to open it, but last summer we were. And, you know, there are still, I think, some videos on YouTube that you can see of the kids just having the grandest time. And so we're almost done. The town commenced a lawsuit against those that did the dumping. A lot of them had, you know, sort of gotten rid of their assets and everything, but we were committed to trying to get every single penny we could out of them because it was just such a travesty. And then the state attorney general at the time was Eric Schneiderman, and he too wanted to sue. And I suggested that we join forces rather than, you know, we're suing over there and they're suing over here. Let's, you know, come together, do it together. We might be a lot more successful, you know, get more money, and that was what we did. So there is about $1 million. I know that the new attorney general came down. There was a press conference at the park a number of months ago, and there's some input from the community, which we did. We had, you know, meetings on what kinds of things they wanted to see. There's another group that's been formed that kind of wants to look at it again, but we're hoping that we can use some of that money now, because one of the things that was requested was a skateboard park. So we are all in with the skateboard park. We went out, we did the RFP. The successful bidder actually has built other skate parks, one of them for Tony Hawk, which those who are skateboarders know that's, you know, I'm not a skateboarder, but I know Tony Hawk. So we were ready to approve the resolution at the last meeting. However, there's been a shortfall in funding. So we're in communication with the attorneys and with the state attorney general's office, because we want to use, I think there's like a $400,000 gap in the funding, because with COVID, supply chain issues and everything, when the bids came in for the skate park, it came in about at $1.1 million, which was a lot more than we expected, and what they, you know, had estimated it was going to be. So hopefully we're again in those discussions, and if we can get a commitment that we can use that money, then at the meeting on Tuesday we can pass that resolution, because I had to table it last meeting, because legally we are not allowed to approve something if we don't have the funding for it, which is a good thing, you know. So anyway, that's really going to be exciting. And when the Attorney General came down and she needed to use the restroom and she wanted to know where it was, and I had wanted us to see a bathroom, an additional bathroom at the park, over by the basketball courts and the picnic area and the playground over there, and she had to go to the pool house, which, you know, it's quite a schlep to go over to where the only bathrooms were. So when we suggested that that might be, you know, something that we spend the funds with, she thought that was a great idea too. So hopefully we're going to be having those bathrooms added there to the park, which I think will be a big plus. At the Brentwood Rec Center, right now we have an after-school care program there. There are 40 students that are there every day. In the lower level, the classrooms are being renovated. Especially post-COVID, there's a lot of things that we have to do that are a little different from what was in place before. Last year, we installed a new playground and swings. We repaved the parking lot, installed drainage and new sidewalks. And this year, we're hoping to see a major renovation of the gymnasium. A new floor, new bleachers, repair and replace the windows. And again, they're leaking. We're not going to put in a new floor if the windows are leaking. So we really have to do the windows first so that we don't damage the flooring. We also are going to be installing AC and an air handling system, renovate the upper level at the gym bathrooms too. The bathrooms are terrible there. So that's kind of exciting. The Brentwood Senior Center, Lorraine, near and dear to your heart. On May 18th, we're celebrating the 17th anniversary of the center being named for Caesar Trunzo. And when you talk about people that love Brentwood, nobody loved Brentwood like Caesar loved Brentwood. I just happened to see his daughter about a week or so ago, and she was very upset because she's not going to be in town then for that anniversary celebration. But the center is wonderful. We have about 60 seniors a day, I think sometimes more, on a regular basis. Get Fit with Nick, does anybody know about that? We have this trainer who, especially the seniors, absolutely love. And during the pandemic, when the classes had to stop because the centers were closed, I asked him if he'd be willing to do a video. And he did, and if you're tuning in on Channel 18, you'll see him in, outside or at Brookwood Hall. And so we had them do the video. And if anybody wants a copy of it, just call my office and we'll send one to you so that you don't have to just wait for it to come on Channel 18. But it is so popular, and people are like taking their video with them when they go on vacation. It's really kind of cool. They love Nick. So let me see. At Clemente, there was some notes here about Clemente. The pool is an Olympic-sized pool. We have 2 playgrounds. There was a new playground put in there, 2 basketball courts. We have 2 multi-purpose fields and a softball field. And again, we're hoping to be able, if that resolution gets approved, to start work on the skateboard park. Tom had mentioned to me today that he had gotten a call from the person who is the successful bidder, that pushing us to get going, because when someone gives you a bid like that, they will only guarantee the prices for a time specific. And in order for them to hold that price, we really have to, get a shovel in the ground and get moving. Otherwise, we're really going to be not in a good place. But I think I'm very confident that it's all going to work. This year, we're planning a community pool party at Clemente on July 22nd. So all of you who have not been there yet, I expect to see you there. Please put that date down in your book. In 21, we made a commitment. There were quite a few incidents at Ross Park. Ross Park kind of became an open-air drug market, unfortunately. There were instances there of violence, actually against the police. Somebody beat up a police officer and had to be hauled away, arrested. So in conjunction with the police department, the decision was made that in order to clean up that park, the only way we were going to do it was to actually close it, get in there and do what we had to do. So we did this fencing around the perimeter. The day that we had the press conference there announcing that we were closing the park, the woman that owns or works at that bakery that's right next to the park, just south of the park, came over and was practically in tears thanking us, because the guys, and I'll use guys kind of euphemistically, that were hanging out there dealing there, living there, were really accosting her customers. People, families didn't feel safe going there. It's supposed to be a community park. You should feel safe going with your family. That wasn't the case there. So Tom and his crew went in there. They've cleaned a lot of the debris out. And part of the strategy, too, for the police is to be able to see in there. So when you've got heavy vegetation, we actually did it as a courtesy across the street on the MTA property. We couldn't get them to do it. We finally said to them, look, if you let us go in there, we'll do it, to try and clean some of that out so that you can see in there, so it would be a lot safer. But the plan is, we're working on plans now for a real renovation for Ross Park. There'll be a pavilion. Again, Assemblyman Ramos has committed to giving us funding to help create a band shell there. And I think that would really, really be exciting to have that kind of center gathering spot for the Brentwood community. Also a playground so that it's really a park, bathrooms, game tables, park benches, and a parking area. I said, you know, we've got all this property, let's put parking there because it's hard to park on Brentwood Road. The buses are in and out of there, it's just not safe. So let's create some parking on site in addition to what you have in the parking lot from the shopping center. So I think that's really kind of exciting. We're hoping to be able to have a groundbreaking this year, and so stay tuned, that'll be really kind of cool. And Brentwood Country Club, we finally, after many, many years, got the irrigation system put in at the golf course. Joe, how is it over there now? Joe Fritz is chatting, he's not paying attention. Tell me about the golf course.
Golf course is in great shape, Angie.
Thank you, that's what I wanted to hear. The irrigation system made a big difference, it really, really did. And we're going to continue to improve it as much as we can every year. Some of the car paths, and I'm sorry, we're not going to remove the sand traps. Joe complains that he gets in the traps. We have to leave them there, Joe. Sorry, you're going to have to just keep practicing to get yourself out of those sand traps. But with the improvements that were done there, we saw the rounds of golf. Certainly COVID helped. That was one of the activities that people felt comfortable doing despite COVID. But the rounds of golf have been up there, as they have been at the other courses that the town owns and maintains. You know, COVID, like I said, we were open the whole time. We partnered with our community partners, the hospitals, you know, Angela's team at South Shore University Hospital and the team at Good Samaritan Hospital. We had that testing center in Brentwood that the state had put up. They had it up about a month and then they closed it. And I'm like, wait a minute, you know, and every day during that whole first, I don't know, 7 or 8 months, we were on the phone every single day with the county, with the state, going over the numbers, and every day I'd say, but Brentwood, you don't understand. In our town, we have one hamlet of 60,000 people that has triple-digit cases. You have to have the testing site there. So I contacted Good Samaritan Hospital, and within 3 days, we had that testing site back up. Our town IT department came in and wired it because you needed to have the internet access. We had the tent in park, so we erected the tent, and that tent was up for quite a while. Transitioned to a vaccine site, and fortunately, the need wasn't there any longer, and hopefully it stays that way. But at one point, the hospital had given us an allotment of 1,000 shots vaccine, and this is when you couldn't get the vaccine, in the beginning when you had to be 70 years old, and then they dropped it to 60. But we were actually booking appointments. They said, if you will take over the responsibility of booking the appointments, we'll get you the shots. And, you know, there are a lot of things that you do when you are in a position as the supervisor, and a lot of times you feel like, does anybody really care? You really put your heart into things. But when we were working on this in my office in particular, there were girls on the phone booking these appointments. People were actually crying, thanking us. You know, they just were so grateful. And, you know, that's what makes this all worthwhile. And I can't tell you how honored I am to be the town supervisor. It is really a privilege. This is an incredible community. I think this is the only chamber in all of the hamlets that we have in the town that actually asks for an update on their community, and I think that's a beautiful thing. So if there are any questions out there, I'll try to answer them, but I thank you for being so attentive, and thank you for caring enough about your community to come out. You know, it's cold out there tonight. You could have stayed home and, you know, snuggled up in front of the TV, but you came out because you care, so I thank you for that. And Bruce and your team here at the chamber, welcome back as president. This is his second stint. I, you know, worked with Bruce in the past. I was happy to see you here.